Welcome back to Our Community. Susie Thomas visiting with Barb Cockcroft from the Young Entrepreneurs Consortium. And let's give that email, youngmindsgreatfutures.org. And both of those are plural, youngmindsgreatfutures.org.
Yes, that's right.
So you can find out more because there's way too much for us to cover in a half hour.
Exactly.
So you're going to want to go to the website. You've used a couple of terms here. First of all, work streams. What's a work stream?
Okay, so just think of a work stream as a major area of focus. Okay, so in the grant, we have 5 areas of foci. I think that's the plural.
That would be right. Yeah, it's very Greek.
And it's very Greek. And so that's what a work stream is. It's just kind of like a bucket, something that we use.
And what are those 5 buckets?
Okay, so the 5 buckets are problem-based learning, teacher credentialing, work-based learning, entrepreneurship coursework, and career advising and counseling.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
This just sounds so cool.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody should have had this as a kid.
Yeah.
It seems like it would get us on the right path sooner.
Yes.
Maybe?
Yes.
With a career, even if that career were not to be an entrepreneur.
Right. Well, and I think about my daughter who went to college and she wasn't really sure what she wanted to be. And so she started off in one area, and then after one semester, she realized she didn't like that. And so then she toggled and flipped and did another area, and she didn't like that. And so basically, she spent several years getting a 4-year college degree and a lot of money. And I thought, I am not going to put any other families through this. And I really feel that we need to back map it and start children in 4th, 5th, 6th grade, just having them look at their strengths and their talents. I mean, Gallup has a new entrepreneurial strength finder. It's very similar to the strength-based, work finder that they have. And it's called the entrepreneurial. And it's through Gallup, Gallup. I'm a real big fan of Gallup as well. And I feel if we can identify what students' strong suits are, what they bring to the table, then we can help nurture that as teachers, and we can help them find a good fit for their lives.
That's so interesting because Adrienne Allison, superintendent of Kansas City Schools, has been here. That's how they're teaching now.
Really?
It's all about strength, focusing on the strengths, and let a student just thrive.
Yeah. Right.
Of course, they'll do remedial work for things you have to learn how to balance a checkbook.
Right.
But you can really focus on what your strengths are.
Yeah.
And doesn't that lead us? And isn't that so biblical? Hasn't God gifted us all differently?
Yes.
And the eye can't say to the hand, I have no need of you. I know I've used the wrong body parts there, but the meaning that we've all got a part in the body to play. And if we just focus on that, we'll do way better and not be so frustrated.
I agree, Susie. And I always remember back when I was in the classroom, I had read a book by Delarice Ambrose back in 1993 when I was president of the Junior League. Way back in the day.
That was a busy year.
And it was called Soar with Your Strengths, SOAR, Soar with Your Strengths. And so I learned it for the league, but then I applied it in the classroom.
Yeah.
And the model was find out what a student can do to be successful and to kind of fly or soar with that, and then to gently weave in the areas of challenge or growth that the student needs. And I found that model to be really, really successful because my students, year after year after year, always did very, very well on the test. And certainly that's only one snapshot of success. I feel that what is a better snapshot of success is how a child feels about himself or herself and how he is using God's gifts to function in the world.
Isn't it critical?
Yeah.
Because then a child starts to see themselves more the way God sees
Amen.
them, as
That's
just
right.
loved and cherished, and that I've made you really good at this.
I know.
And go ahead and use this for my glory.
Yeah.
And it just seems like that's the way we're built.
Yes.
Rather than a child that feels dumb or stupid because they can't get it and try and go over and over and over something that's just not what they're built to do.
And I feel that in the problem-based learning, it has really leveled the playing field and has removed a lot of barriers because it's something that all children can be successful doing. And ironically, the students that have the biggest struggle with problem-based learning are my gifted students, or the students, because a gifted student many times wants to know, is this right? Did I do this right? What grade did I earn? And I'm saying, isn't learning fun? They're like,
yeah, Mrs. Cockcroft, but
yeah, they're like, what?
But did I get an A?
Yeah, did I get an A?
Yeah.
And so I feel that, and this is the way society is set up. I mean, you know that we're stronger together and stuff. We're stronger in teams. I felt like I used to be a good teacher, but I never became a great teacher until I collaborated with my colleagues. I learned so much from my colleagues, and I will always be indebted to them for sharing with me strategies that they learned in college, because they were all younger than I was at the time. And I thought, wow, they're so willing to share, and we work collaboratively as a team. And I really feel that that's a system that Lake and many of these other schools has going on. It's just a really well-oiled machine.
Let me understand a little bit better what problem-based learning is. And you said there was one of those other buckets had another kind of based learning. That was
work-based. That's with the internships and apprenticeships.
Oh, that is so important.
You know, having kids maybe shadow someone in a job. We have a great team of students who want to go into welding, and these are really, really careers that are high leverage. You know, we need good welders and electricians in our area, and so we're trying to look at the jobs that are going to become available within the next 7 to 10 years, and we're trying to make the curriculum fit that so that when these students graduate, whether they graduate with an industry credential, which is one of the ways that a student can graduate from the state of Ohio now, or if they graduate with a college and career readiness pathway, or if they simply take the ACT test and they graduate that way, regardless of how they graduate, we want them to be set up for success in life. And we want it to begin, as I said earlier, all the way back into 6th grade. Ohio has a great website called Ohio Means Jobs.
Yes.
And so Governor Kasich and his team have worked diligently with creating this backpack that kids can go on Ohio Means Jobs, and they can take a inventory to see what they're good at and what they like, what they don't like, and just kind of start percolating that in their brain.
My college dean father used to raise eyebrows when he would say, college isn't for everybody.
Yeah, right.
You need to find what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and people, wait, what?
Yeah, I know.
But no, absolutely,
Right.
yes, because what would we do without a real good plumber?
I know.
What?
Oh, I know. I know. I really feel that everyone has a place in the world, and God creates us for a purpose. I mean, I can't help but think about when I read Stephanie Spielman's book. It's called That's Why I'm Here.
Yes.
And I do believe that she died at a very young age, and I think she was just an incredible inspiration to many of us. But when she said to Chris and to her children, don't you understand? That's why I'm here, to share the message of breast cancer. I mean, it really resonated with me. So I want to make sure that I, through the grace of God, use up every ounce of DNA or everything that God has put me on this earth to do, because I want to be inspired like Stephanie Spielman inspired me. That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
You know, I want to continue to grow this grant. Problem-based learning, basically, to answer your question, I know I ramble on a lot, is to take a real-world problem and to work in teams to solve the problem. And so one of the problems that came before a group of students was a problem with fracking. And one of the students' uncles was going to have their land fracked. And this was in Monroe County. And so Monroe is one of our, not a partner, but it's one of the counties that we service. And so this student came and was very concerned, should his uncle sell part of his land in order to have, the fracking occur. So the kids worked together in teams to decide whether Uncle Herman needed to do that or not. Another one came from East Canton. The kids come up with the problems. And one of the 7th graders thought that there was a speeding problem on the access road, which connects from the highway into the school. And so Christy Foss, who was actually Stark County's Teacher of the Year,
yes, I know,
in
yes.
2015 is one of our lead problem-based learning teachers. So she said to the kids, well, let's turn this into a PBL, a problem-based learning experience. So she divided the class, and they took areas. She's a math teacher at East Canton, but they decided, they talked a lot about velocity and ratio, and they decided that, in fact, there was a speeding problem. So then they launched a marketing campaign to help alleviate that problem, which was just amazing. This is all inspired by the children.
That's what I love, what you're saying, is that the children are identifying problems, finding a problem, and then filling them or fixing them.
Right.
That this is not me as a teacher telling a group of students, here's your problem, solve it.
Right. And another one that's in the hopper is there's a problem, I believe, at Massillon City Schools with the cell phone policy. And so I think it was maybe the 9th and 10th graders wanted to pitch their idea to the Board of Education that the cell phone policy, this was back in September, so it might have been navigated and fixed already, but that there was a problem that the cell phone policy was not applicable to right now. And so they wanted to ask the board, respectfully, if they might be able to revisit it. And then the kids would come up with suggestions. Now, if I were on the Board of Education, I would love that.
Yeah.
Because I would love a student to get real with me and say, this is how we use technology to enhance our learning.
But you're you. Did they? How did they receive it? Do you know?
How did Massillon receive it? I don't know, because it was one of our trainings that we had done, and it was in the hopper. It was something that was it was going to happen, but I haven't heard anything.
So stay tuned for that one.
Yeah, stay tuned.
You have reached so many students through so many school districts through this. Tell us a little bit about just how broad, what's the scope that you have gotten this through.
Okay, so I'm just going to correct one little thing.
Okay.
God.
I know.
God has reached so many students.
That's what I love about you. You really give give credit to where it's due, don't you?
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's so successful, Barb.
Well, thank you.
Well, God, through you, has reached.
And through a great team. We have an incredible team of leaders. I mean, I cannot thank Joe Chaddock at the Stark County ESC enough for his support. Tammy Hurst has done so much with the finances. Paula McGee. I mean, just so many. Mike Baer. I mean, we're in communication every single day. There's just so many people that I couldn't say all the accolades that are deserved, but I think ultimately the credit goes to God. So we do reach 12 counties, and our impact is 26,549 students.
Think of what you used to be in front of a classroom of what, 30?
30.
And you were middle school, so you had several classrooms of 30. Did you ever think you'd be reaching this many thousands of 26,000, 26 and a half thousand
No,
students.
I never did. I actually was so sad to leave the classroom. I cried. I cried for 2 weeks before and probably 2 years after, because I loved my students. I love Lake. I love Jeff Wendorf, who was our superintendent. I loved everything about Lake. And just when I left, because they were going to riff some of my colleagues, I knew God had a plan for me. So I knew that God would take care of me. I just had to be faithful, and I had to believe in that which was not seen, which is sometimes hard for us Christians to do.
It is, but isn't it every single time you step out on what looks like nothing and it's solid ground, because He has laid the way right there?
Yeah, amen.
Okay, give us the website real quick for people to go to.
Sure. The website, everyone, is youngmindsgreatfutures.org. And my personal email, if you're interested in problem-based learning, or if I can help answer any questions for the grant, is barb.cockcroft@email.sparcc.org.
Great. Barb Cockcroft, thank you so much for all you're doing in our community.
Thank you.